Okay, so it is time to review Justice League. I'm Ed Bo, and welcome to Ed Reviews. As I said, today's film is Justice League. It is directed by Jack Snyder with a special late game assist from Joss Whedon, and it's from a screenplay by Chris Terrio and Joss Whedon. It is a superhero action movie. It is set in the DCEU film universe set sometime after the events of Batman versus Superman. Uh, so, the characters, principal characters, Superman, aka Clark Kent, played by Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill gives an okay performance in this. He's not really a standout in this film. He's not really bad in the film either, but it's not really his movie. This movie isn't really about Superman. But this is the version of Superman that fans who have been dissatisfied with the DCEU, this is the version of Superman we've been waiting for. This movie gives us what we want in terms of the DCEU. If you were in any way dissatisfied with the DCEU films to date, this is the movie. Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, played by Ben Affleck. He's still the best actor in the film. He's still a badass, but he doesn't kill humans in this movie. Um, in a lot of ways, this is his movie. He's sort of positioned as the star of the film in terms of screen time and how he's positioned within the story. It's kind of his movie, and he does a fairly good job of carrying it. Wonder Woman is as solid as ever. Not really her film. She doesn't really steal the show, but that's mainly because of the presence of Aquaman and Flash. Speaking of Aquaman and Flash, Jason Momoa plays Aquaman, aka whatever his first name is, Curry, Adam Curry. If Jason Momoa wasn't a star before, he is now. He is funny. He is charismatic. There are certain parts of the trailer which makes it look like his portrayal of the character could start to get a little annoying at times. It doesn't. It actually works throughout the film. At no point in time does his characterization of Adam Curry become annoying. Arthur Curry, excuse me, Arthur Curry. Um, at no point in time does his portrayal of the character become annoying. It's actually pretty good. Flash is Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. He's equally funny, not quite as charismatic. He's a big, awkward guy, almost a non-evil version of Lex Luthor from Batman versus Superman. His role as an actor is pretty big in the film, but his role as a superhero, he's a little bit underutilized. And I don't mean to say that his character isn't present and that his character doesn't get involved, but his character is much less integral to the plot in terms of how they actually solve the problems. The Flash isn't a major part of it. He's an assistant. He's almost a sidekick. Um, he's like I said, he's a big part of the action in the film. He's just not a big part of solving the problems. Um, Cyborg, the actor playing Cyborg, I don't know the actor's name. He does a great job. He does a good job as an actor in the film. It's kind of his movie too. His powers are well utilized primarily because in terms of the plot, not the positioning of the actors, but in terms of the plot, this is Cyborg. This is a Cyborg movie. Without Cyborg in this film, the heroes lose. It is primarily him who solves everything. He's not the biggest, baddest dude in any of the fights, but without him, the solutions that they apply to the problems simply don't happen. Um, so the plot. In the beginning, bad things are already happening as the film begins. Batman is gathering the heroes. The opening is a little slow, especially for younger viewers. I happened to go to a matinee where there were a lot of children, and in the opening of the film, the children were agonizingly bored with what was going on. This film takes its time building up, and it's not a problem for adults. Adults were following the plot and progressing from the end of Batman versus Superman to the beginning and the flow of this story, and it was fine for grown-ups, but children were really, really, really bored with the beginning of this film. Really. Um, In the middle of the film, the action picks up a lot. This is a big action movie, and it works. The heroes put together a very thin plan to take out the villain's very thin plan. We'll get to that in a minute. But it is there's a lot going on. The plot doesn't drop away entirely, but this is a thinly plotted movie. This movie exists as a reason to put together a group of heroes and a group of set piece action scenes. And the set piece action scenes are what carry the plot, um, rather than the other way around. The ending. Most of the plotting is over by the third act of the film, and the film wraps up with a few massive set piece action scenes. One of the best final action scenes I've seen in a superhero movie in recent years, marred by something that we'll get to in a minute. So the upside. The upside of this film is that it is very fast paced, it's fun, the action is satisfying, the interplay between the characters ranges from good to very funny. It's never actually great, but it's fun. It's never not fun. The Finally, this film, it hits the tone that fans know from the comic books. Each hero feels like their comic book self in this film, much more so than any of them have felt in any of the previous films. Um, they didn't drop Batman into an Adam West caricature, but they allow him to crack a smile. He's actually Ben Affleck's Batman is the deepest, most three-dimensional version of Batman we've ever seen because he still is that dark, brooding guy, but he's so much more self-aware of the fact that he's a dark, brooding guy. He knows he's less complete than certain other people. Um, and that adds a depth to him that we've never really seen before. And I'm going to be really sorry if Ben Affleck does, in fact, walk away like he's talking about. Um, the downside of this film has some amazingly bad CGI. Keep in mind the main villain of the film is entirely CGI, and um, he doesn't look as good as the graphics of a modern AAA video game right now. I mean, some of the things that you fight in, say, Horizon Zero Dawn look better than the main bad guy CGI in this film. It just doesn't look as good as it should. Compare him to another CGI villain like say Ultron from Age of Ultron, which is a movie that's a few years old. This doesn't come close. Also, you have the infamous Henry Cavill mustache replacement. So for those of you who do not know, Henry Cavill was contractually required to grow a mustache for another film while filming Justice League. And so in Justice League, he filmed all of his scenes with a mustache, which they digitally removed later. Well, they didn't so much digitally remove his mustache as digitally reconstruct the lower half of his face every time he's talking. And it looks horrible. It's so incredibly noticeable. It makes Henry Cavill look like a CGI character and not a good one. Once again, it's it the there are better graphics in video games than what you see on the big screen in this film. Henry Cavill looks like he's not even there. He looks like he's CGI inserted into the film, like young Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator Genesis. It's about that bad. You can't not see it. It's a train wreck. And the other downside is the villain's plan is super, super, super simple. It never gets beyond I am evil, therefore I conquer. He doesn't actually have much more of a plan than that. His method of conquering is, a triple MacGuffin kind of thing, and involving the mother boxes, and that's it. The hero's counter plan is equally simple. He conquer, we stop. The plot never gets much more complicated than that, making the plot feel like just an excuse to get the band together for the first time. And the end result is much more entertaining than you would imagine given some of the reviews. I mean, the 38% on Rotten Tomatoes is a ridiculous score for this movie. It is much better than that. It's much more fun than that. It's much more solid than that. The plot is thin, but it's not stupid. It's just basic. Um, so in the end, this film gets three and three quarter stars from me. It might have been a four-star movie if the villain had better motivation and the CGI hadn't been anywhere near as abysmal as it is. So 3.75 stars for me for Justice League. I highly recommend you go see it. I would recommend you go see it in theaters just because it's that much fun. However, it's not something that is going to lose something by being translated onto the small screen just because the CGI is that bad. So, thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you really like this video, hit the subscribe button. And if you really, really like this video, share it with your friends. Peace.